Jody Mosher here from the Valley Independent Sentinel, and we're on to part 3 of the Flood of 55 record.
For some time, we had lost touch with George Lazat.
Here are the 2:30 headlines from WAVZ, the newspaper of the air. George Phillips reporting. First, a dramatic report direct from Waterbury by WAVZ's George Lazat, who has been on the scene all day long. Come in, George Lazat.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is George Lazat reporting to you from flood-stricken Waterbury, Connecticut. We're speaking to you right now from a Sunoco gas station on the Waterbury-Union City line, where helicopters are doing a magnificent job evacuating people from these homes to my left. You'll be able to hear the helicopters as we talk to you from this gas station. And let me briefly describe the situation here at this critical point. The homes on both sides of Union City Road are being swept away by the rampaging Naugatuck River. There's one house, not a house, but a big apartment house, a 4-story affair, that has been pulled by the river into the back of the river itself and is now being broken up, and it's floating down the river. It hit the house of another man who we're going to talk to in a few minutes. He was just rescued by helicopter, both he, his wife, and other members of his family. Briefly, the Naugatuck River here is surged over its banks and has covered both sides of what would normally be this busy 4-lane highway. Before coming down here, we cover the south end of Waterbury. The river has done hundreds upon hundreds of $1,000s of damage. As a matter of fact, we have one unofficial damage estimate of at least $10 million in the Waterbury area alone. It'll be weeks before things are cleaned up and to a point where they can begin operating again. Right now, we have a gentleman here with us who's going to talk to us because he has just been rescued by a helicopter, and he wants to tell us what it's like to be trapped by a surging river. Sir, what is your name?
Russell Palmer, 466 North Main Street. The Coast Guard cutter rescued my wife and daughter. The house was tipped on its side, and the tanks and so forth let loose up the river, hitting up against it. I thought if it ever went over, life would have been lost. I was an eyewitness to a woman riding down on a roof off her home, and she blood all over her face, and she hit the Naugatuck Manufacturing Company and went under.
She was on the roof,
riding the roof down.
and the last you saw her house hit the roof, hit the plant,
Naugatuck Manufacturing Company brick wall,
and she disappeared.
She disappeared.
I see. Well, what time? You told me, sir, that the civil defense people woke you up. What time was that?
4:30 this morning. I had a rap on the door and told me to get my car out of the shed.
I see.
And I did just that. And the water come up awful fast.
I see. And when did you find that you couldn't get out, sir?
I was trapped right in the house across the street.
I see.
was not with my wife and child when they were rescued by the Coast Guard.
You told me you thought for a brief moment, that they had perished. You saw the house. Is that right?
There was no life whatsoever. I figured she passed out.
I see.
Though the water didn't reach her, she was in the second story. The water was 3/4 of the way up to the second story.
Uh-huh.
And there was no life whatsoever, and the Coast Guard dropped the lifeline, and she couldn't get into the belt. Well, when she didn't get into the belt, my daughter ran away from her, and the Coast Guard cut the rope because there was danger of pulling the copter down.
I see.
So in an hour or two, the Coast Guard come back with a basket affair.
And they took her
And the daughter went out first.
How old is your daughter?
10 years old.
10 years old. She was rescued first.
She was rescued first.
And your wife?
I immediately returned for my wife.
And then they rescued you. You've just come in here, is that right?
I've just come in, yes.
You've landed here at what they have set up as an improvised airport on the Waterbury-Naugatuck Expressway. Is that right,
That
sir?
is right.
Here's another passenger coming in now, ladies and gentlemen. You can hear the helicopter. And the people here say, bless them, because they're doing a magnificent job. That man was just rescued a few moments ago, and we're giving you an eyewitness account of what it's like to be ravaged by a river that is rampaging here between Waterbury and Naugatuck, Connecticut. These helicopters are landing on this 4-lane highway, and immediately they take off to rescue any one of an untold number of people that are still trapped in these houses, which, as each minute go by, you can see them fall a little farther into the river. The waves here are cresting over what would normally be the highway and breaking on the first floor of these homes.
Then, this bulletin.
Governor Ribicoff has asked President Eisenhower to declare Connecticut a major disaster area and to allocate federal funds and other help.
For hours, we had been waiting for restoration of links with towns along the Naugatuck Valley. And then, at 3:55,
here is Derby Police Chief Frank Mannion by telephone recording.
I wonder if you could tell us what the situation is out in Derby.
Well, the bridge going from West Derby to East Derby and New Haven has been closed because of the terrific amount of pressure caused by the water.
Uh-huh.
Now, we had one building, the Charlton Press, where several people were marooned and were on the top of the building. I called the Sikorsky people, and they sent 3 helicopters up there and removed those people. At the present time, the water has gone down, I would say, about 8 inches, but we have no way of telling when we'll be able to open our highways to traffic.
Do you hear anything from Ansonia or Seymour? Naugatuck?
From what I hear, Ansonia has been hit pretty hard. The Maple Street Bridge has gone out, and Main Street, it'll be a question whether they'll ever find it again or not.
At this time, we take you by telephone recording to Ansonia for the first direct report on conditions in that town in the last 4 hours. Come in, Ansonia.
Hello?
Hello.
Officer, this is George Phillips at WAVZ.
Yeah.
What's the situation in Ansonia?
Well, the Maple Street Bridge caved in, and the 1955 station wagon went down through, but the guy jumped out before he didn't go into the water. The car did go.
I see. He escaped, huh? He escaped, officer? Hello?
Hello.
You say he escaped?
That's right.
Uh-huh. What's the situation now in Ansonia? Is there water in...
Well, we got no power or nothing, and Estonic Public Service says they won't have none at least till Sunday.
Sunday?
No lights or nothing.
Uh-huh. What about gas?
There's no gas or anything.
Is there water in the streets of Ansonia?
Oh, yes. They got about 4 foot of water on Main Street yet.
On Main Street. It started to go down, however.
Yeah, it's going down a little, but not much, though.
I see. Have you had any casualties at all?
Not that we know of yet.
Uh-huh. How about houses? Have any been destroyed?
One house and a whole big block in the corner of Maple and High Street.
Uh-huh. What do you hear about Seymour? Anything? Or Naugatuck?
Seymour, they claim the state police were just there now. They claim the whole center of the town is gone.
Gone. Uh-huh.
Well, I know we see 3 or 4 houses come down the river here.
Uh-huh. You have had no casualties in Ansonia?
Not that we know of. We have no report on it.
Uh-huh. Is there still...
We never had no telephone. I don't know how you got in there.
By telephone recording, WAVZ's Tiny Markle is standing by with Mayor William Sheesby of Ansonia. We take you now to Ansonia and Tiny Markle.
This is Tiny Markle once more, this time reporting from the City Hall in Ansonia, Connecticut, one of the towns worst hit by the flood here in the Naugatuck Valley. We have here with us, right in his office, in the captain's uniform, the mayor of the city of Ansonia, Mayor William Sheesby, and he is a captain, he tells us, in the reserve, and he is in uniform with us, been very busy, and has been kind enough to take a few minutes out of his schedule here, which has been pretty panicky today, to take a couple of minutes to give us some indication of what has happened in his town. Mayor Sheesby?
The flood of the Naugatuck River has certainly put Ansonia in a very, very tough spot. We have a great many people that are homeless. We have many, many problems. And one of the problems that we have is the lack of generators. We need generators for lights at night in the stations that we are manning. We are setting up at the present time some temporary housing and getting ready to work with our medical units. And at the present time, we're at the City Hall setting up proper guard